Hi everybody, I think I'm live. Yes, hello everyone for another episode of the city that we love and the city that inspires us. And my microphone just fell, let me reclip that, I apologize. There's always a little technical difficulty. Just never know where it's going to come from. I want to welcome you to this episode, and I know some of you right now, if you're watching live, you got stuck watching an ad for a few seconds, so I'm going to wait for all of you to catch up. If you do, however, come across ads during my videos, please don't get too upset, because know that some of that revenue goes toward the creator of the video, and so it does help to support the cause. I know it's a slight annoyance, but that's the way of the world today, so thanks. If you're watching on the replay, maybe just skip ahead a few seconds here as I give everybody a chance to catch up live. I'm so glad to see you all here. I can see Corinne is here, and Lori Dean's here, and Haas Manning, and Jennifer Robinson, David Dubois, Bob Purse, with Colleen, I hope. Bob, I hope she's at your side. And Heather Liebhart's here, and Peggy Baker, and Ellen Betancourt, all those familiar, friendly names. I want to welcome you all to episode 113, and welcome, at least in our mind's eye, to good old Ile de la Cité. We're right in the center of Paris here, in the first and fourth arrondissement, technically, if you care about those sorts of things. And we're looking at here in the first slide a building called the Palais de Justice, which is the main courthouse of Paris, where the Supreme Court is housed, at least a large part of the Supreme Court. And let's throw this disclaimer out. I apologize in advance if I, at all during this episode, make the mistake of calling it the Palais Royal, because there's something about when my mouth says the word palais, I'm just so used to saying Palais Royal. I'm going to try not to do that by mistake today, but if I happen to, then just know that I'm apologizing in advance for that. Thanks for the turnout live, everybody. Remember, the super chat function is available if you want to throw some support my way during the actual broadcast. Otherwise, there are plenty of links in the description via Patreon and PayPal that will help you support the cause and keep this going, and that is always much appreciated. Let's jump right into it. So this building that we're looking at, we're right on the middle of Ile de la Cité. To the right of us, in relation to this view, you would have the metro station called Cité. And this square has a name. I think technically the name was changed to the Queen of England, to Queen Elizabeth. She came and visited, and there was sort of a big to-do several years ago. So I guess it's technically named after her, but I'm sure there's a historical name as well. And this is, of course, we're starting out where the very historic flower market is. And I know some of you are big fans of that. Right off the bat, Peggy Baker sending some support through the chat room, and I appreciate that, Peggy. I'm sending you a big old virtual hug, to be continued for when I give you a real hug in person next time you're in town. I'll be giving out a lot of hugs soon, I think, to all of you out there. Can't wait. So the Palais de Justice, you can see here in the center of your screen, and to the left, for those who don't know, is the very famous Sainte-Chapelle, the beautiful, magnificent stained glass of this medieval chapel from the mid-1200s under Saint Louis. And the way that, usually the courthouse here, you don't, as far as I know, I've never tried, but I'm pretty sure you can't just walk up to the guards and say, hey, can I go roam around inside the courthouse? I don't believe that they would be down for that, because it's always a very heavily guarded gate. But the way that I visited it, and that's the way that I would recommend you do so as well if you're curious, is visit the Sainte-Chapelle, and then the way that they exit all of the visitors out of the chapel is you have to go through the courtyard in front of the courthouse. And instead of taking a right through the gates back into society, I decided to take a left into the building itself, and there were no guards at the doorway of the Palais de Justice. And so I documented my explorations, and I think I went a little bit further than maybe I was supposed to, but that's how I like to do it. Thanks, June Parm. I can see your support there in the super chats. I really appreciate it. You're all so lovely. It's great to have you here. Great turnout today, and I really appreciate this. This is a home edition, by the way. I'm in my basement, which I won't show you because it's horrendous visually, as most basements should be, I think. But let's get started here. So the Palais de Justice. So as I said, I was visiting the Sainte-Chapelle a couple of years ago, and as I was exiting into the courtyard in front of the Palais de Justice, you can look back at the Sainte-Chapelle, which is essentially encased in all of these government buildings, the courthouse buildings, and part of the prefecture as well. So that is looking from the courtyard of the courthouse back toward Sainte-Chapelle. And I've got a lot of views here because, of course, I was snapping away as usual. If you back up a little bit, then you can catch the stunning lamp fixtures of the courthouse. And we're going to do some zooming in. June, you sent me a second super chat, 2 in a row from June. My goodness, she's double dipping today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So this is fun, at least from a photography standpoint, to play around with the compositional elements of the lamppost and the spire and the Gothic architecture and little Saint-Michel, who is the statue on top of the chapel. And that gilding is just gorgeous. I would assume that we'll assume that it's legit gilding because it's up high. Usually the gold that's up high is quite often legit gold. Ellen Betancourt says it's a layer cake of architecture. Yeah. So the building itself, the courthouse, was from the mid-1800s, which puts it in the Baron Haussmann era, of course. And when it was inaugurated, Baron Haussmann visited the courthouse. You can see here I tried to put the little pine cone of the lamp fixture right at the tip of the spear of Saint-Michel. And very close by is the Fontaine Saint-Michel, just down the street. So this is a saint here. Saint Michael is omnipresent in this particular part of the city. And I'll show you some views. I snuck my way up to the very top floors of the courthouse, as we'll see, and I got great views of the Fontaine Saint-Michel, etc. Now, before we go up the stairs to the courthouse, here's a very historical archway. And I don't know if you can make it out here, but it says the Buffet du Palais. So I guess there used to be a cantina or a cafeteria. Maybe there still is, but it looks like a very faded sign. But during the French Revolution, this archway is rather infamous for all of the condemned prisoners who were leaving the Conciergerie prison, which is essentially the building all along this right-hand side. They would, when it was their day to be executed, in other words, guillotined, they would be led through this very archway that we're looking here, including, most famously, Marie Antoinette. And so I knew I had to snap a couple of photos of this archway into this courtyard because this would have been exactly in 1793 where Marie Antoinette would have been led from her cell in the Conciergerie to the cart. They say it was essentially a horse manure cart that would take her all the way to the guillotine on that fateful day. It was October of 1793. So that is, it doesn't look like much, but when you know the history of it, my goodness, all of those prisoners, that this was essentially their final walk. Let's go back to the arch so you can see that. So that's just on the right-hand side of the stairs as you enter the courthouse. Corinne Mateo says, oh, that lamp. Yeah, the lamp. Oh, my goodness. Here, this is for you, Corinne. We'll just go back one more time. That's for you. So the archway and the little courtyard, and then we're going to actually make our way in to the courthouse. And what you get are these beautiful, vast 19th century vaulted ceilings and halls and hallways, etc., and several floors of this stuff. And so you get a sense of, it's a beautiful, sort of a neo-Renaissance, I guess, is what we'll call it today. And I've been here a couple of times, truth be told. These are all photographs from 2 different times that I made it in. And again, do you technically have the right to come in here and walk around? I don't know, but the 2 times that I've done it, no one has bothered me. And I've heard from other folks as well that they've popped in, for example, to use a restroom, etc. And they said that nobody bothered them as well when they were inside. Of course, you want to be respectful and you don't want to make any noise, but I would just see the occasional lawyer or, some sort of worker in the courthouse make their way, across go into a closed doorway. And I assume on either side here, there are a lot of courtrooms and all the proceedings happening and whatnot. But you can see the beautiful skylights on one side here. And these grand staircases all over the place and the arches. It's really good stuff. Laura says, my local courthouse is pitiful compared to this. Yeah, that's what Paris will do. It'll make you feel a little less enthused about your local addresses. Here's another view. You can really see the skylights doing their thing. And everything's clean and quiet and very shiny and calm. Thanks so much, Danielle, for the support. She says, here's to all my frites who helped us hit the 20% mark on funding our mascot, Corson. Keep it going. So Corson is the name of a gargoyle, or technically a grotesque, on atop Notre Dame that you can support via donations. And so Danielle has been spearheading a movement for us frites to help save one grotesque, one gargoyle in particular. And his name is Corson. Probably in French we would call him Courtroom. But you can call him whatever you like. So thank you, Danielle, for the support, and congratulations on rallying the troops and getting 20% of that gargoyle funded, or at least the restoration of it. This is an interesting bit of statuary that I found in this very hall that I've been showing you. And it's some sort of woman putting a helmet on a gentleman. And is he a soldier? I think he is, because if we look at the other angle, you can see there are names, typical mort pour la France, or having died for France during the World Wars. So this is a rather dramatic sculpture that I actually haven't seen this sort of thing portrayed before in Paris. I like this photo in particular just because you've got the shadow here tucked away, mimicking the gesture. So I thought compositionally that one was not too shabby. Another view of that hall before we make our way to other parts of the building. If you're just joining live, then we are at the Palais de Justice. I almost said Palais Royal, but I caught myself. We're at the Palais de Justice on the Ile de la Cité. This is a space that people almost never ever see, and I had a couple of opportunities to pop in. And of course, I tried to document it as best I could. So these two shots are really, it gives you a great idea of what all the hallways look like as you make your way from one section to the next. And at this point here, when in real time, I have no idea what I'm going to see around the next corner. I have no idea if somebody's going to tell me to get out. I have no idea what's upstairs, but of course that's what we're going to explore here. A lot of lovely staircases. Again, this is all mid-1800s. I love how these staircases spill out on the bottom like that with those beautiful rounded steps. Something about that really seems very elegant to me. Oh, thanks, Joni. Joni says great photo, and I don't know which one you're referring to, but I'm sure it's one of them, so thank you, Joni. Appreciate that. Lauren says the light fixtures are incredible. Yeah, this was such a treat. This is, I'm a broken record with this, but Paris is a city that really reveals itself to you in very small increments sometimes, over the course of a lifetime, apparently. And a lot of skylights in this building, which is nice. This is an interesting shot where you can see the two levels, sort of different, like a grand concourse area, and then the terrace type area around. Reminds me a little bit of almost a mini Grand Central Station vibe in New York. Of course, on a much smaller scale. Joni says the statue with the shadow is the photo she was digging. Oh, thanks, Joni. Appreciate that. Speaking of skylights, this is a fun view. And this is what Paris is all about. It can be the dead center of town, a building you've walked by 100 times, and you pop in one day and you realize all of the visual treats and treasures that are hidden and remained hidden to you for years and years and years. And then one day, I don't know, as fate would have it, the doors open up to you, literally and figuratively. Here's another quick look at a skylight. And Danielle says, don't forget the mosaics. Yeah, mosaics, man. Love a good mosaic. This image is, in fact, a little bit blurry, but I thought that it was a good way to show you another view. And I also wanted to point out, you can see at the base of this staircase are two roosters, roosters being one of the classic historic symbols of France and the sort of, what's the word, chutzpah? I've never used that word before. But, you know, the courage and scrappiness and determination of the French has often been represented as a rooster. And I took a close-up So you've got the axes as well. So this is a rooster that's not messing around. He's armed. Joni's digging the skylight as well. And then this is one of my favorite mezzanine spaces here. It's what I used for the thumbnail. It's always too, and those of you who have visited Paris, I hope you've had this kind of experience too, where you what makes it more special is not just that it's hidden, but that when you find it, you're really the only one, and it's almost a meditative experience where you're completely cut off from the rest of the world and the rest of your life, and for that sort of suspended moment, you're just in this other universe, and everything's coming at you in the most wonderful way. And then from here, as you can see, it's an elevated platform, and I'll show you the view, at least the one view from down on the floor. Love it. Laura says movie set. Yeah. What a nice place to practice law. I mean, personally, with my incompetences, I would hate practicing law. That would be a nightmare every day going to work. But if you're into that sort of thing and you're good at it, oh my God, I mean, this building would be, I would assume, an amazing place. Here we have other corridors with windows all along. So what's really fun is you can peek out the windows and see views of the architecture that, of course, you wouldn't otherwise be able to get on Ile de la Cité. And so those are some of the images. But first, I want to show you that some of the corridors have this lovely stained glass as well. So this building is just an absolute treat. When you think of so few people who get to experience it, I thought it would really make a good episode here and hopefully give you all a taste of something that you might not otherwise know about. So here we can see a little bit more closely. We've got here the scales of justice, obviously, and République Française, Lex, I'm not sure what that means. I'm sure something important. And here, Jus, I guess we can assume that's justice. Now this is interesting too. Do you see this? This is a mirror with a snake. And I didn't have time to research this. Maybe somebody out there knows. I'm sure it's just a Google search away. But that may represent justice as well, fairness. I think I've seen, I've seen that in other areas, and I will show you another image. I found the same symbol of a snake in a hand mirror in the slideshow. I'll show you that. So through the windows of these corridors, as you just kind of, again, I was just roaming around when I was being quite the flaneur. You can get these beautiful elevated views of the interior courtyards. In this case, I believe this is part of the conciergerie. And just how gorgeous is this? Again, the conciergerie is where it was a royal palace converted into a prison, especially during the French Revolution, where they held the prisoners and also held the tribunal. The revolutionary tribunal was housed in the conciergerie, where you would be tried. And if you were innocent of your crime, they'd let you go. If you were guilty, it was essentially off to the guillotine. There wasn't a whole lot of gray area in between. But can you make it out, hopefully, if you've got good resolution and your screen's big enough, these beautiful little lion heads at the bottom. June says everything is so beautiful. Oh, thanks, Mark Vickers. He says Lex means the law. Excellent. Appreciate that, Mark. Well done. Here we see a little glimpse of the Sainte-Chapelle, and because this building wraps around the Sainte-Chapelle, I was able to get some gorgeous views of that you wouldn't otherwise get, and we'll get there in a minute. But again, this is all beautiful. Some of this Renaissance/medieval style architecture with this, let's see, how many sides? I guess that's a hexagonal tower, if I'm not mistaken. I also caught this through the windows. This is a fleur-de-lis motif, which is interesting that it's just peppered all the way up this wall. And I just love those little flourishes that don't need to be there technically. The building would still stand, It would still do its job, this building, if it didn't have those fleur-de-lis on it, but really, really lovely. We've also got another mystery here. This is a C, N, and A. So that surely references something. Quite often it will reference a ruler, like a king. I know that in the original version of this building, it was Charles V, King of France, who resided in the Conciergerie building. So maybe the C is Charles and maybe the A is his queen. Again, sorry, I know I'm supposed to be the tour guide. I'm just guessing. I do not have inside info on that, but I'm sure it references somebody. Okay, here's another. This is a pretty low quality image, to be truthful, but it gives you an idea. I had to zoom in quite a bit, but you can see clearly the snake in the mirror, and then around this lovely lion motif, you can see the paw of the lion that's wrapping around. That's something that we saw. Was it last week that we saw that? I think so. Where you have the lion head, but then also the legs of the lions and the paws are kind of like wrapped around almost like a scarf, which I guess would maybe represent like a taxidermy lion or a lion rug that you might have, or a tapestry hanging on the wall. Because I have seen that. I've seen actual lion hides hanging on the walls of tapestries in old chateaux. Jennifer says, loving the fleur-de-lis. Marlene says, we believe anything you say, Corey. I always have to be careful that I preface certain things with saying I'm not sure, because there are tour guides who will just say any damn thing and hope it's true and hope nobody double checks and nobody fact checks. I try my best not to be that kind of tour guide. So if I'm not sure of something, I usually try to preface with that. So here we are, Sainte-Chapelle. And we're a little bit elevated here. And again, we're going to wrap around. Those of you who have been in the Sainte-Chapelle, I don't have to tell you how magnificent it is on the inside. For those who have never visited, just know that when you enter, because you can visit this, the bottom floor is interesting, but it's mostly like the older parts, the less fancy parts of the chapel and the gift shop. But you really want to go upstairs, and it's the second floor here, where the king and the royal family would worship the crown of thorns. That's really where the good stuff is. I've heard stories of tourists not knowing any better, and they come in and they're excited for the Sainte-Chapelle, and they walk in on this ground floor and they're very underwhelmed, and they're like, really, this is it? But of course, once they get upstairs, you see the glory of it. I could have slipped some shots of Sainte-Chapelle in here, but we've got enough photos to enjoy today. And again, this is all from inside the courthouse, and it sort of wraps around, and I'm just walking through the corridors. So usually almost everybody sees the Sainte-Chapelle from over here, the opposite side of this building, looking at just the back of Sainte-Chapelle and the spire. So to be able to be in this courtyard, which is closed off from the rest of the city, and to see this vantage point was a treat for me. I see Laura asking which king, and if you're asking about the king I referenced earlier, it was Charles V. He was the one who lived in the Conciergerie before he moved over to the Louvre and converted it into a prison. So again, Sainte-Chapelle, and we're just enjoying different views. Always love a good gargoyle. Here you get a sense of how tall those stained glass windows are. Just awesome. Oh, thanks, Lori Dean. She said that is a great shot, referencing one of these photos. Oh, this is fun too. I just love seeing gargoyles all lined up like that. I love a good gargoyle chorus line. And as far as I know, these are legit working gargoyles, in that when it rains, they'll spit the rainwater out of their mouths. Here's another composition. So it's fun visiting this building, because you can enjoy the interiors and then just poke your head out a window and get all sorts of different views of stuff that you wouldn't otherwise get. June Parham says, wow, just wow. Isn't this great? And on that day, by the way, when I visited the Sainte-Chapelle, of course I was oblivious. I had no idea that I was about to get an extra treat. And sometimes it just takes a little sliver of courage to say, you know what, there's nobody blocking this door. It's wide open. People are walking in and out. Why don't I just pretend that I belong here and let me just respectfully have a roam around. This was cool. The benches in one of the main lobbies of the courthouse was had these great lions. I originally wanted to share about a dozen shots of these same lions because it was so fun from different angles, but I decided on just 3. Thanks, Pam Moore, for the super chat. I appreciate the support. This is great. And of course, everybody that works in that courthouse, they're so used to this space. I remember when I was photographing these, the people were walking by and kind of looking at me curiously, like, why is that guy spending so much time with those lions? And I loved it. So back to more corridors. Speaking of some of the interesting objects, you'll notice here that there are these cast iron structures, quite a few of them in some of the corridors, often right next to the benches. And I figured out that they're most likely heaters, old style heaters that wouldn't be in use anymore, I would assume. But what a beautiful leftover from the 19th century, I imagine. Thank you, Bonnie, for the support in the chat. I appreciate that. And one last close-up so you can see the air vents and whatnot. So can we assume that they would, again, I don't know why I'm doing so much guessing on this episode, but I guess there would be some coal maybe there, like some hot coals placed inside each one, perhaps? Or would you actually start a fire in each one? That doesn't seem practical because then each of them would be like smoking and whatnot. I don't know. That's very curious. I'm sure we can find that out somewhere. But I guess that's why, let me go back to this, I guess that's why they would have so many of these, because imagine it's, let's just pick a random year, imagine it's 1872 and it's the dead of winter. These hallways must have been freezing. Nobody would be caught dead sitting on one of these benches to discuss law or Lex or snakes and mirrors or whatever the heck they discuss in this building. So next, I made my way upstairs. And in fact, to be honest with you, there was a staircase where the staircase wasn't blocked off, but I could hear some banging of like construction happening and some faint voices of some workers. And whenever that happens, I actually, for me, that's kind of a green light in a way to go figure out what's going on. Because it usually means that you're not going to bother anybody as long as it's not dangerous and you need a hard hat or something. But it seemed like, let me just go up there and see what they're working on, and maybe it'll be sort of abandoned with just a couple of workers. And that's, in fact, exactly what it was. These were all offices. So I'm at the top floor of the building. These are all just offices that they're renovating. And again, I could hear 1 or 2 workers going by carrying like drywall and stuff, but they didn't care that I was there. And they maybe even thought I was one of the workers checking on the status of my office or something. But so I just very quietly moved my way around, and you can see the window there. So I can share a video, and I don't usually do this. I hope that the sound's going to come through, otherwise you'll just see the video of it. But it's a quick little video that I made while I was up there, so let me share that real quick. Hey there, everybody. In keeping with the theme of going into spaces that I probably shouldn't be, this is a bit of a construction site here where they're redoing some offices up above the courthouse of Paris, the Supreme Court building. And I'm just roaming around up here, and I saw this view of the Latin Quarter and try to brighten it up for you. I don't know if you can make it out. We're looking at the Fontaine Saint-Michel down there in the river. Nice vantage point that you wouldn't otherwise get. You can see the Tour Montparnasse in the distance there. You can see the bell towers of Saint-Sulpice. And they'll probably ask me to leave this space soon, but I just wanted to share this with you. It's fun to explore and venture and figure out, find new ways to look down upon the city. All right, I hope you're having a great day. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Okay, so I checked while it was playing. I think the audio played for you, so that gives you a little idea of the video caught. It's funny when I get in these situations that when I recognize the fact that it's a very undiscovered spot and I'll probably never be there again in my lifetime. I always try to take as many photos and videos, and I got to make a mental note of like, okay, am I documenting this well enough? And so hopefully that gave you a little idea. And as I said in the video, of course, I don't know if I was really allowed up here, but I was respectful. It was fun. We got a lot of support coming in through the chats. Thank you to Laura Mirles, who says, thank you, Corey, for the photo tour. Can't wait for a real-life tour with you soon in Paris. Yeah, Laura, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing a lot of you. Thanks to Heather Moffat, or Mofat, for the support. And David Dubois says, Corey, you're the best. Merci for my weekly dose of Paris. De rien, Monsieur David. C'est avec plaisir. Okay, onward. So here I am essentially looking out at every single window that I can find and seeing the quote-unquote rooftop views. So we've got a beautiful round turret-style tower there. There was some good late afternoon sun coming across too, which is fun. See, these are some of the skylights that we referenced earlier. So these are all interior courtyards of the courthouse, stuff that you would never be able to see from the street. So I was pretty tickled. This is Notre Dame here. Thank you, Sue. Sue Saint-Laurent, a beautiful French last name. Sue Saint-Laurent, I appreciate the support. And Nancy Brisson, thank you so much, dear. Love when Nancy joins us. Another view of the skylights. Thanks, Anna Tinsman. She says, thank you once again for bringing Paris to us in these trying times. No kidding. My goodness. Some less trying times would be welcome, huh, Anna? I'm so glad that you joined us. I hope you're doing well. Okay, more rooftop views. This was fun because I just noticed the ladders here on the rooftop. I would not be that guy here and on the other side as well. And then this window, this is cute too, this little tower poking up. I'm not sure why this little tower rooftop had to be there, but I love that it is. This is great, isn't it, here? This extra bit of ironwork they put on the top of the roofs. Another interesting tower here, isn't it? Very unique stuff. Oh, thanks, Billy Godso. I see your support there in the chat. Thank you very much, sir. Again, Notre Dame. This was November, I believe, these photos. So that's why the trees are autumn colored. Tara says, I'll climb that ladder for you. What? You're insane. Yeah, well, your whole family is a bunch of insane climbers. So yeah, I bet anyone in your family, Tara, could handle that climb. So this is what you saw a little bit of in the video clip, and these are some actual photos I took afterward. So this is Fontaine Saint-Michel, and that's all the Latin Quarter here that we're looking at. I don't recall what this was that day, but something was covered up. It's funny, I was talking to one of the Fritz, a photographer, and he said there's always that ubiquitous white van everywhere in Paris, screwing up all your compositions. And if you think about it, in this one photo, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 white vans or trucks. It's just, that is part of the landscape. So after this little rooftop adventure, I went back downstairs to the back section of the courthouse, and you end up seeing or finding this grand hall. So this is actually yet another vast space tucked away in the back. And these spaces seem to be, at least the 2 times I've visited, essentially unused. Like, there are really not a lot of people hanging out. They'll stop to say hello to each other, and then they'll just move on. It's all, they're places of passage. So nobody's actually hanging out in these spaces, which makes them look almost ghostly in a way. And let me show you, I'm going to show you an exterior shot of exactly where I am at this point. And this is Place Dauphine. Again, November, no leaves at all. But many of you know Place Dauphine here, this back of the Palais de Justice with Notre Dame there. So this section right here, which you can't even access, it's never open to the public at all. It was meant to be the main entrance. Those of you who have taken a walking tour with me in this area, I've probably mentioned that. But this was originally designed to be the main entrance of the courthouse, and at the last minute they changed it and they flipped the entrance to the other side. And I think that's why this space is so grand, because it was meant to welcome everybody to the courthouse. So I guess there's logic in the fact that this thing tucked away way, way back on the edge of the building is spectacular. This is a bit of a wonky panorama I took, but it gives you an idea of we got an elevated staircase there. Christina Consolet says, love, love, love those domey lamps. I like that. I like that word, domey. Oh, domey lamps. Danielle's asking if this was a weekday or a weekend. It was a weekday. It was a work day. Random statue I found has a bit of a Statue of Liberty vibe. A lot of these statues in France, when you see them and you see how closely they resemble the Statue of Liberty, it all kind of makes sense that the inspiration came from just a few different archetypes all around the world. So this is nice, I guess, that some sort of figure up there representing justice. And then I went up one of these staircases, so the next image that you'll see is on one of those elevated mezzanines. It was such a treat to discover this place. Just got a few more images for you. Now this was interesting. My camera actually screwed up, and I don't know why. It's almost never happened, but all these random areas got blurred. However, the lamps did not get blurred, neither did the subject there, the lady, the girl. So it turned out to actually be kind of a fun artsy shot unintentionally. It almost looks like I messed with it in Photoshop to be artsy, but no, it's just a little bit of good luck, I guess. And then this is hold on. This is a more traditional shot without the blur. Camilla says, cool shot. Thanks, Camilla. I appreciate it. People are saying, I love the artsy shot. The light fixture. Yeah, a lot of you are down with the light fixtures. You're really getting into it. Yeah, June says, cool, the shadow on the floor. If I had my druthers, I think I would want to literally just spend every day walking around Paris with a camera. I'm feeling the pull toward that increasingly. Not doing something fun and on the side snapping shots of what's around, but I mean like literally just going out every single day with the sole intention of capturing Paris on camera. That's calling to me more and more, that idea. So here, exiting the way we came in. So Sainte-Chapelle here on the right, and normally you would leave the Sainte-Chapelle and they would escort you out through this gate. Yesenia says, I mean, the Paris light fixtures are on another level. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. This is our last image, folks, just of the courtyard and the afternoon sun coming through. And it's really just, it's my happy place. It's one of the many happy places that I've discovered. Thanks, Lisa Chorney, for the support there. She says, here's to Paris and a good camera, the perfect day. Yeah, amen to that. Okay, everybody, so that is it. That is the time that I got to unexpectedly explore the Palais de Justice, the Paris Courthouse, where the Supreme Court is held. This gate, by the way, this is just randomly popping in my tour guide head, that this gate it was built in 1776, the gate itself, and I know for Americans that's kind of a fun date. To think that that gate alone is as old as our country. Yeah, that's the magic and the fun of being in Europe. Thanks everybody for joining me. I think we will we'll do a quick little cafe chat over in the Facebook group just to say hello to each other. I don't really have anything planned. I don't even know what I'm going to show you. I'm going to definitely get out of my basement. Maybe I'll walk around the backyard and show you a couple of things and just check in with all of you and have a quick chat. So if you want to do that, give me a good 10 minutes because I got to get set up outside and switch gears here. But thank you so much for joining. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you soon for number 114. If you want to support the cause, there are the links in the description, various ways to do so. And if you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'll keep bringing it to you, hopefully. And I appreciate all the enthusiasm that you all give me each and every week. And thanks for spending time with me. I'll see you all over in the Cafe Chats group if you wish to have a private chat. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.